universe appears to be 13.8 billion years old. Earth is like 4.5 billion years old. In another half million years or so, the sun will expand and probably evaporate the oceans and make life impossible on Earth, which means that if we'd taken consciousness steps and one we could evolve, would never have evolved at all. Just don't stay longer. And I wonder how many dead world civilizations there are out there that never made it to the other planet, ultimately extinguished themselves or were destroyed by external factors. Probably a few. Look again at that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you knew, everyone you've ever heard, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering, thousands of competent religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. Every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization. Every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer. Every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mode of death, suspended in a sunbeam. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great developing cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from us. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbour life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, which has species could migrate. This is not true. This is Mars. Mars.
What is freedom? How do you define freedom?
understand the first part of Genesis, I'm going to turn, strangely enough, something that's actually part of the New Testament. And this is a central element of Christianity. And it's a very strange idea, and it's going to take a very long time to unpack, but the idea, this is what John said about Christ. This is what John said about Christ. He said, in the beginning was the Word. So that relates back to Genesis 1. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is what John said about Christ. He said, in the beginning was the Word. The Word. The Word. The Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God.